Kristof to present his experience about first settle.
Hi. Can you hear me fine in the back? No crazy echo? If it becomes this staccato and it starts hurting your brain, you have to tell me. So, first of all, thank you very much for coming on Sunday and for being here this early after the awesome party last night. As you can hear on my voice, I wasn't sleeping all that much last night. But I'm really excited because I would like to share with you, I want to change the way you think about Drupal. I want to change the way you think about that little blue guy. Because, well, I'll get into that in a moment. But before I do, who here has a company or is a freelancer or whatever and is thinking about making a product? And product, I mean like productized software, or a productized service. It could be also a service. Who's doing that? Okay, so some people. The others, you're thinking about doing a startup, or have you ever thought about that? Yeah. Okay. So then this is especially for you. Also for the people that are not necessarily thinking about a startup, I hope that this will be interesting. Because I think that in the next years, we're living through one of the biggest changes. Well, this is the biggest change of our lives. We are currently, well, hopefully, or maybe, we'll see. Maybe there'll be bigger ones. But we are living through something that is as big and epic as the Industrial Revolution. Like what's happening today, that all businesses are becoming digital, is an amazing thing. And it's affecting every single piece of commerce. It's affecting every single piece of society. From politics all the way to the way we have friends, to all the way to the way we run businesses. Everything is changing. And we can, like, through startups and through novel ideas, we can be part of that change. And we can actually be the change makers. This is a time when big fortunes are generated. This is a time when you can grow rich on the idea, or you can make a really big change in the world, if that's more. But who am I? I'm Kristof Van Tomme. I'm a Belgian. Niet best helemaal jouw. Okay. So my wife is Hungarian. For 5 years I lived in Szeged, in the south of Hungary, where I started Pronovix. And well, it's been growing, and now Pronovix is 24 people thanks to the merger with Peter's company, Kindest. And yeah, so we're a Drupal shop. But for almost since the beginning of our Drupal journey, we've been thinking about how can we do more than just building websites for people? How can we do something that's more scalable? That by doing something smart, we can, do something so that we don't have to be working for every euro that we're earning, so that we don't have to be actively putting in hours to make money. And also to increase our impact, because when I'm 60 or 70 years old, or maybe 80, when I'm stopping working, I want to look back at a life where I've made a big impact on the world. I want to be able to look back and say, like, I did something that matters. I did something that was a real contribution to society, to life, to us as a humanity as a whole. And not just like, I made enough money to live, or to buy a big house or a boat or something. I want to do something that has an impact, because our life is very short. And yeah, I would like to use that time, the limited time that we have, in a good way. So, but let me come back to that's why I want to change the way you think about Drupal. I think we're missing a really huge opportunity as a Drupal community, because we're losing startups. I don't know if you realized, but if you talk to startup founders, like especially technical people, very few of them think about Drupal as a tool to build a startup or as a tool to build a product. Like, yeah, they'll use Drupal to build a website, but like a real product, if they're in the early stages, they'll think about WordPress. They'll just click a few features on and, like, you know, it's really simple, just, you know, and they can test their idea just by, like, they don't really have to think about stuff. If it's really complex, or if you talk to developers, like real coders, and you know, no offense meant, but I think that Drupal coders are also real coders, but when danger, but if you talk to developers, and Drupal developers, when you talk about products, very few of them would use Drupal to build a product. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, you're doing day in, day out, you're doing Drupal, and you wouldn't use the tool that you've grown to love, that you know the community of, that you know that you're a power user of, to build your own product. That's insane. That's really insanity. So people will say, like, you know, use Go, use Ruby on Rails, use Node.js to build a product. And then here it goes really crazy, is then they go into their bat cave for 2 years, spend like lots of time custom coding everything, and then they come out and the product doesn't work. And that's insanity. So in Drupal, like currently today, Drupal is kind of seen like, you know, if you want to build a complex website, something enterprisey, something that needs, like, you know, it's fairly complex, but it's a marketing site, or it's an e-commerce site. It's like brochures that we're creating, rather than products, in most cases. It's not always, but or like community sites, yeah, okay. Community sites people will do. But products, like the exciting startups, very few people would consider using Drupal. And I think that's, in some cases it's warranted. Like certain products you shouldn't build in Drupal. Like if you will have to build a special algorithm or something like that, don't do it in Drupal. Maybe. But there's a lot of things that you could use Drupal for. And there's such a powerful toolbox that we have in our hands that we know how to use. And you really shouldn't just discard it. Like we have this startup, Walkup. It's a Drupal product, it's a distribution. And at the same time that we built this in Drupal, somebody else built something very similar in Ruby on Rails. And it was like, from the Drupal community. I was like, why? Now, okay, there's a warranted, I can understand why, but you know, I think that there's definitely certain cases where doing things in Drupal makes a lot of sense actually, and some of those are non-traditional. Some of those are things that I don't think you've ever thought about, or that you've ever thought about Drupal in that way. So I hope that I can expand your thinking about Drupal through this presentation. So why should you use Drupal? I think there's, well, I came up with these 5. I did it for an article for Watchdog that's going to be published at Drupalcamp LA. I think that there's at least these 5 classes of reasons why I think that Drupal is super powerful to build products. One, everybody knows this, it's a really, really powerful platform. There's a lot of functionality. So it's not like Drupal is the smaller brother that you don't, like, you know, the ugly stepchild that you don't want to use for a product. It has a lot of power. And I think it's especially powerful for prototyping. And I think this is where most startups go wrong, is that they try to just build their product instead of building a prototype. Well, I'll go into that a little bit more in a bit. Another thing, Drupal empowers the clickers, the site builders. Who here is a clicker? I am. I'm a proud clicker. I'm not a developer. I don't do development. I never did. I've dabbled a little bit in PHP, but don't go look at that code because it's horrible. magic. Like, this is why I became a Drupal person. Like, this is how I got to do Drupal. Because I could build, like, my first project, I was building a really complex thing, just putting it together. I've also seen Drupal used as a front end. Like, I think the front enders are running out of the room screaming now. But I'll explain it a bit. And this is the bonus one. Drupal as a market. And I think very few people think about it like that. And I'll explain what I mean with that. So, platform. Why is Drupal a great platform? First of all, it's an awesome CMS toolbox. It's kind of like this Swiss Army knife for building content. And like, we think that's normal. We're so used to it. But I don't know, are there WordPress people here? Well, people, okay, not WordPress people, but people that have also done WordPress. Like, I think WordPress is getting better as a CMS tool, but like, it's basically, it's running after Drupal. The stuff that we're doing now, making everything fieldable, like, that's magic. That's crazy magic. Because what it means is that you can really easily create content models, really complex content models, without a single line of code. And that's incredibly powerful. Community, and I'm not talking about the Drupal community, but community tools. There's lots and lots of features for building community sites in Drupal. Access permissions, organic groups, like complex systems. And the beauty of it is that all of that is kind of built as an API. It's like a toolbox. So rather than having a product like a group's product or like a community module or feature or something, we get this incredibly, well, fairly complex, but incredibly powerful toolbox with which we can do whatever we want. Also, often without a line of code. And that's very different. And that is because of our ecosystem, because we are different. In WordPress, there's this whole commercial ecosystem where with freelancers, freelancers rather than companies. So like, I was really surprised by that in Belgium. When I went to a WordPress meetup, like, I asked, like, so what company are you from? And like, almost all of them were like freelancers, one-person companies. No big companies, nothing. I was like, why? And then I started thinking about it and I realized that it's because of the plugin system that they have. It's very different. Because there, you don't go and build custom stuff. Like, you don't build custom business logic. It's pre-tuned, you just click the button, install it, configure it a little bit, but it's not that much configuration. You don't have this interdependency matrix that allows you to do really powerful things. It's not there. And Drupal has that, so it makes it like, if you want to do something different, Drupal is probably a really good choice. Even like, well, you could also code it, of course, but Drupal can get you there also. Monetization, like the whole commerce, the payment systems. Next presentation, my colleague will be talking about recurring payments, like all that kind of stuff that's there. Machine interfaces, like, what was it? There was like a new, I think Google Wave came out, and a few days later there was a Drupal module for it. We were crazy like that. Whenever there's something out there that we can interact with, somebody will be making a module. Vertical interfaces, what I mean with that is like education, academy, mobile. There's a really powerful iOS framework for Drupal that allows you, and I was talking with an iOS developer who used to work at our company, and he went to a conference in London where the presenter was actually recommending Drupal as a backend for iOS apps. Like, really. And he was saying because there's this really powerful framework for building your apps that handles the login and a bunch of other things. It's now, like, there's quite some activity I heard now on the repository. So, like, you know, stuff like that. Specialized data, apps, like business logic. This one is big. This one is huge. Rules. Rules rocks so much that you can't possibly imagine it. it's like, I don't know, I hadn't been using rules before, and then I was like doing a little side project, just clicking it together, and I was like, okay, flag module is not good enough, triggers, well, let's try a rules class. Oh my god, all this stuff that you can do. Really complex business logic, whatever you want, like, well, there's a few things where you need a little bit of coding, but it's incredibly powerful, out of the box, just from the interface. Like, that power for people that are not developers is amazing. And it brings us to the site builder. So, as you heard me say several occasions, I think that we need, especially going towards Drupal 8, I think it's time to create a new class of developer in our community. In Drupal 7, because of features and our handicap in deploying stuff, like we talked about that yesterday, we've been torching our developers. They've been forced to be click monkeys. That's what we sometimes call it. Because they hate that. They hate clicking on forms. They hate exporting it into features and then trying to figure out why it's not working anymore. And then over and over and over and over again. They hate that. But because you need a high skill level, because of the debugging part, we've created a position that's unsustainable. Our developers should not be clicking on sites. Well, maybe not that strong, but we need the separation there. Because else we'll lose our developers, they'll go do some fancy new programming language. That's more cool, that's more fun, you know, that they don't have to just export stuff, where they can actually write code, be creative. And we need to separate that. So I propose that, actually, I've been talking about this, that we need an event, just like we had the dev days, we need a click event for the clickers, for the site builders. And I think the power that is in that is incredible. Like, I'm a bi engineer. I got into Drupal, as I said, through clicking stuff, and I'm doing a little bit of in the olden days. But the Drupal empowered me. Like recently, I did this site project, Click Forward, and in 12 hours, like in 4 hours, I had a first prototype, just clicking. It was on Drupal Gardens. 8 hours, you know, I had everything that I wanted for my first prototype. And then after 12 hours, I was inviting people. 12 hours, and I'm not a developer. That's amazing. That's really powerful. And that's not me, that's Drupal. So I think that we really need to promote Drupal more as a tool for business people to model stuff. Because it has this amazing click power. So, I promised you chocolates yesterday. I want to do a little bit of startup bingo. So I want to go through this list. I got mine. This is like, this comes from a list of the top types of startup, and the top types of startup categories in 2014, I think. It's like this space you should be watching for venture capitalists. And what I want to try is, if you can imagine a startup that could be kind of cool, that fits in all of these classes. And if you can imagine one, you get a chocolate. And I've got these. These are orange chocolates. So, who wants to go first? Enterprise Mobile. Can you think of an existing startup that you could just copy in Drupal? I know one. Is it mine? Can you think of something? It starts with a Y. Enterprise Mobile? I don't know. Or this is too early? Or just want free chocolates? Okay. of a startup like in education. Something that's like booming like hell, that's in TechCrunch, on the front page of TechCrunch all the time, and you're like, I could build that in Drupal. Yeah?
Code Academy.
Yeah.
Code Academy.
Yeah. Yeah. Others? Well, I'm not going to throw, I'm going to kill someone. If you just come and pick it up after. Yes? There was another.
Yeah, TED Talks.
TED Talks, that's easy, yeah. Others?
Maybe Coursera.
Coursera, for sure. That's actually what I was thinking about. Education, Coursera, Udemy, those are easy. Health, diagnostics, anything? Yeah? Okay, two more. Then I'll stop pestering you. Who has another startup? I'll show you other. Transportation. Can you think of something for transportation?
Uber.
Uber? Yeah. You could. I'm talking with a startup, a car sharing startup, about building a Drupal distribution for car sharing to make it easier to start up a car sharing company, so that we can impact the environment easier. So like anybody can start a car sharing company just installing the distribution. Yeah.
I think now we have like 2 or 3 car sharing platforms in each country.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of them, but I think that we can make even
That
more.
would be awesome.
Because we can build a distribution that makes it so easy to then adjust the business logic so that you can adapt it to whatever business model you want to use. Okay. Financial tech? I don't know. Well, anyway, you got my point. I don't think that you can't use Drupal for this. Right? It's totally doable. Click pride. We need to make bad things for that. Yeah. Next, I want to talk a bit about prototypes and pretotypes. And that's not a misspelling or mispronunciation. Pretotypes. Because making a startup is innovation. And you're doing something, you're trying to figure out what your market is going to like, and you're trying to build a product for that. And everybody's doing it wrong. Well, okay, there's the whole lean startup movement, and everybody's like, who knows lean startup? Like, who has read the book about lean startups? Okay. So, are you familiar with this? Minimal viable products, lean startups, customer development. You know what that is? Yeah? Okay, I'll need to explain. So, when you build a startup, one of the biggest problems or one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they just start building. Like they have an idea, and it's like really exciting, and they have all these features. Like they've got a roadmap for like 10 years, and they start building. And like they go into their bat cave, and 2 years later they emerge. Or they don't, or they continue for another year, and they've built something and nobody's ever seen it. And it fails ridiculously. Now, most people will not do that, especially if you start reading about lean startups, you'll learn that you should go out and talk to customers first. Okay. So you go and talk to customers. But even that is not enough. Because people have this funny thing. We can easily imagine stuff, and we think that it's going to be awesome, and we think that it's going to be nice. And you have a lot of crowdfunding campaigns that happen there. Like, I bought this Android button. You know the Android button? Who bought? Has anybody seen it? No? Okay. It's a button for Android, and because my Android is fairly slow, and you have a button, and if you push it twice, you can open an app, and you can program it to open different apps by pushing that button in your radio jack. So I bought that. It was one day it was in my phone because it's just ridiculous. got it. Yeah, we need this. This is going to be awesome. And you buy it, and then it's like, nah, man. Okay. And this is thought space. And this is where a lot of startups go to die. Because even the people that know about, that know about customer development, they go and talk to people, and their customers say, yeah, I'm going to totally buy that. And then they build it, and nobody uses it. And so thought space is probably one of the biggest dangers, because even when you do lean, people talk about, I'll go back to that in a moment. So people will talk about minimal viable products, and they'll go from an idea way too far. Like, who has had customers come to them like, we're a startup, we want to build a minimal viable product, and then they start and they're like, and it needs to have this feature and a chat function and that, and need to be uploaded, and it's and you're sitting there like, oh, this is not a minimal viable product. This is like, this is version 10 or something, and they don't validate. So what can you do? How can you validate without building? And there's one really easy way to do that, and it's called the concierge model. And the concierge model means that you as a startup founder, you become the concierge. You understand that word, concierge? Concierge is like in a hotel, the person who's sitting at the desk, or in the front of a building. What? Yeah, something like that. They're the one that maintain the building, they keep an eye on it, and when the toilet paper runs out, they all. So, the concierge startup model, what you do is instead of building this really complex thing that can do everything, you build something that's just enough to get the input so that you can do the business logic in the background. It doesn't work for everything. Some things you need faster turnaround. But there's a one book called the 7-Day Startup, and that guy, he did a WordPress service, and he slept with his phone next to his pillow, so that he could, like, when people were calling or for an issue or something, or like there's the model for the Twitter, like the scheduling for tweets. That guy, he slept with an alarm clock next to his pillow, so he would wake up to go and tweet at the right moment. So that's a concierge model. But the beauty of that is that you don't need to do any work to test it. Now, there's somewhere a trade-off that you can make. As I said, with Drupal, you can do a lot in very little time. So maybe you can go a little bit further. But it's important to think like that. And then comes the prototype. And prototyping, there's a free book called Prototype It. It's by an Italian. He's an interesting figure. But he talks about how this idea of minimal viable product, but like one step further, one step more minimum. He gave the example of IBM. IBM in the 60s or 70s or something, they were thinking about developing a voice-to-text application, like a software or product or whatever, so that they could record voice and then turn it into written text. And they were really smart, because before they built it, they made a prototype. They invited these important business people to come try out this new product, this new prototype that they built. And they had, behind the wall, they had a secretary who was typing really quickly. So they would be speaking in the microphone, and then behind the back, the assistant would be typing. And immediately they saw that it didn't work, because they would have to say like, oh, go back, and it didn't work. So right there, without making any real investments, they decided not to pursue it like as one of the major businesses. Another story is Palm Pilot. The first real handheld that actually worked, and that people actually liked. the guy who built that, he had a wooden block the size of the Palm Pilot that he thought it would be, with a paper stuck in front of it with a calendar on it. And he would like pull it out of his pocket and look at it and like, imagine how it would be in the day-to-day processes for which you would use a smartphone. He was testing that. And only after he did this for a few months and he knew that there was really a need, the form factor was right, that it was not too small, not too big, it was okay, fit it in his pocket. Then he started building something that would fit in that size. And then Palm happened, and Palm was a big success. And I think, so, but how do you do that? How do you figure out what you should be building? And I think this is the key, is to look at your startup and to look at the heart. What is the value engine in your idea? For example, the Link Forward, the startup I talked about earlier, that's like, well, it's a side project. Well, maybe it could become a big startup, we'll see. That are built in the 8 hours that I was talking about. The heart of that was introductions. It was the key concept that people would be able to post an introduction request, and then other people in the network would be able to go to this site, look at the different requests, and then help people. It's basically a paid forward magnifier to help you have a bigger impact on your network. Like, because I don't know how many of you are, like I have 2,000 people on LinkedIn, and several of them I've only met once, and I don't remember their face. I need to get better at that. So I wanted to build a tool that would help me to have more interaction with these people, so that I could help them and help them with their business or whatever they are trying to do, so that I can have a bigger impact on their lives. And then, you know, if you do something for someone, something comes back. So, but the key there is that the heart was these introductions. And so, and I built that. I built profiles and introductions, nothing more, nothing less. That was the core. And I built that first, and then I started inviting people. And then I saw that, okay, people come first time, they're interested, they're keeping an eye on it, but they don't come back. So how can I make them come back? Currently, I'm testing that, how I can build that. But the key is, look at your startup, not from, okay, I strongly believe that to be able to do this, I need that and that and that and that. And if I don't have this gamification system, it's all not going to work. It's really important to first go for the heart and then expose people to the heart and then see if you like and get feedback immediately. And a minimal viable product for me, that comes after all that. After you've seen that people come back, they keep using what you're doing, then you build a minimal viable product. Then you could go to an investor or spend all your cash. I've met people that spent 50, 60,000 euros like just on their first version of their product. And I'm like, yeah, well, I've done that myself. But, well, I've learned this the hard way. You don't have to. Okay, from that, what the hell? What the hell? Because like all the teamers in the room, they're like, what? Like, Drupal, front-end? And I'll explain it all. So, you could, who knows Brightcove? Brightcove, anybody? It's a video hosting solution. They've done some well. First disclaimer, we're working for them and we're doing the integration for them. We're building a new version for that module. But they're doing something really smart because they've got a video hosting service and they've built a module for Drupal that basically makes their service a plugin for any Drupal site out there. So I'm like thinking in that perspective, like what are the services? One, like a startup that you could easily do is startup that reaches its audience through a module that basically integrates your service with something else, and that could be built in Drupal or in something else, and basically uses Drupal as a sort of delivery channel. And there, what you're doing there is you're using Drupal as a front end for your service. Another one is API interface. Is it Apogee? Apogee or Augmenta? I always mix those two companies. It's an American company. And it is something really, really interesting. They have a service where basically they help really large organizations take all their data and putting an API in front of that. And the interface for managing the API is a Drupal site. So they have a Drupal distribution that they give to every single customer of theirs, and they can then go and customize that and do all kinds of stuff with it. So, and the cool thing about that is that like the customer can just leave it on their server, or they can put it on their own hosting. They can customize it. They can do all kinds of other things with it. And basically, what they've done is Drupal is their front end. It's their interface to their API. It's very, very smart. Sales front. We're working for a customer that has also an API, and they're using commerce to sell the services through a Drupal site. So you could, again, this is kind of similar to the API interface, where you're exposing a product through a Drupal site, and basically that becomes your interface, because everybody is very close to a marketing site. Open SaaS, who knows what that means? Open SaaS, have you heard of that? Who knows Drupal Gardens? Drupal Gardens, so? Yeah? Okay. Drupal Gardens is a product that Acquia developed, which is basically Drupal as a service. It's kind of like WordPress, the way that WordPress works, where you can go to wordpress.com, you click the button, you got a site. But that's the idea. Now, the cool thing about that, also WordPress does this, is that at any time you can take your site away from it. So you can start on their SaaS solution, and then you can download your product and host it yourself if you want to, at any time. So it's that openness to software as a service. So like building an open SaaS with Drupal, what you could do is that for every customer you make an instance of your service, and then they can download it if they get fed up with you, or if they outgrow you, or they have to put it behind a firewall or something like that. Then we come to the last one, and this, well, have you ever thought about using Drupal as a front end? Like, you've done that, or? Yeah. So, well, when we had a customer coming to us saying, like, yeah, we want to do this, we want to use Drupal as a front end. First, we could, like, why don't you just build an Angular app if you already have the APIs? But then they needed the commerce part, and then it made sense. The fifth big reason where I think Drupal excels is market. And what I mean with that is Drupal is more than the code. Like, it's also a community, and its community is also it's a way to address a very, very specific niche market. It's a very small market, but they're really well connected. They're easily accessible. So it's if you're doing a startup, and if you're following the strategy of crossing the chasm like a bowling alley, I read a lot of books about this stuff. But if you one of the key things that people say when you want to bring a startup into a broader adoption is that you need to go first for a very small market. If you try to address the whole world, you're not going to succeed. You need to pick one really small market and then build your product so that it perfectly fits that market. Build the whole product So maybe that means that you need to add other services, like for example WalkUp, our startup, this one. What we're doing now is we're starting DripDocs, which is a documentation service for Drupal sites. So you can come to us, say like, I don't want to write documentation. Come to us and say, we'll interview you and build the documentation for you. We've got a partnership with a US technical writer who's been doing only Drupal, not only, but who's been doing a lot of Drupal documentation in the past. And then we'll maintain it using WalkUp. That's DripDocs. Because WalkUp on its own is not successful enough. It's not picking up as fast as I thought it would. So we need to invest more time. We have to build the whole product, not just the piece that we want to sell. You have to make partnerships with people and bring in those things that you can't do yourself in the product. Like Airbnb, their whole product is a house listing with pictures. So they make partnerships with photographers that will go to everybody, well, not everybody. I think in the beginning they picked a few and they made sure that there were really beautiful pictures on at least part of their profiles in the beginning. So like sometimes you have to fake some part of it to get through those first adoption phases. Because if there's too much friction, people don't use it. And they're like, this is new, and I'm not sure if this is going to survive, and why would I invest this much time? And then you have to help them to get over it, or find partners that will help you do it. So, what I want to do next is go through all these things, these beautiful things that we have in our community, and think about them through a growth hacker approach. Growth hacking is another of those hack words from the startup community. It's kind of like marketing 2.0, where you're using social networks and everything that we know about as IT people to kind of hack the way for growth. So, Drupal user groups. The way I've been using Drupal user groups to test products, Drupal user groups are really good for testing your product ideas. So you got an idea for a startup, make some really, really popular, for the beginners, make a really basic product, and maybe it's just a mock-up, and go to a Drupal user group and show it to people. This is how WalkUp started. WalkUp, back then it was still called Walkthrough It. It was a really ugly text on the sidebar, and there was one person at a Drupal user group who told me why don't you use Selenium to build that, and so that you can record interactions. Well, it's a long story, but basically Drupal user groups are great. They're your friends that don't live under the same roof, that probably will tell you the truth, hopefully. So if you want to get feedback, it can be useful. Drupal camps are great for presentations. So once you have something, going to Drupal camps, you can get your initial mailing list. You can get your initial adoption. Drupal cons are again bigger. What I do there at Drupal cons, so I speak at Drupal camps, like I'm doing now. At Drupal cons, I try to speak. Hopefully I get a slot. If I don't get a slot, or even if I get a slot, I'll go to all the booths from all the companies that are there, and I'll go and introduce them to my product. They're standing there all day long for a whole week. Often they're happy to see someone, even if it's to talk about your own product. That's a really good trick. I do that also at e-commerce meetups, and they pay for the booth, but I'm getting value. I think it's more effective than having a booth, actually, sometimes. Especially in the early phases, but it's better because you can get feedback before you print really expensive stuff. Drupal.org, making showcases, making a module, posting a module. Drupal.org is one of the best ranked, SEO ranked web properties on the internet. So if you put something on there, a lot of people are going to see it, and it's a great way to get awareness about what you're doing. Planet Drupal. Who here has a blog that's on Planet Drupal? Very little. You're publishing to the Drupal Planet. This is really not hard. stuff, like if you're organizing events for sure, and you're sometimes publishing in English, go and get yourself onto the Drupal planet. Because it's like, whenever we publish an article that goes to the planet, we get 300, 400 people viewing it in the first 2 days. It's a really, like, I'll often do, like, for example, the car sharing thing. I made a blog post where I explained the thing, and then I had a call to action that leads to a Google form to like capture, to see like who cares about this. Is there anybody interested? And it's like you can start building audience through that. It's a very incestuous pool of people, so it's like all Drupal developers, but still it can be a good audience if you use it like that. Watchdog, you know Watchdog? If you've been to like Drupal, at Drupalcamp, there's this magazine called Watchdog that every attendee gets, and you can write articles for that. We're doing that now. We're even like if you write enough, if you write a long article, they'll even pay you. What we're doing is we're using the money that they pay us to put ads in Watchdog, and those are again for our products. So that's so you can build authority about what you want to talk about by writing articles about it. Like, don't write crap because they won't accept it. Also for the Drupal planet, please don't write crap. Write good stuff. And then you can also use it to put ads in there. And they also have a website now for more long form articles. So you have social web. I don't need to tell you this. Like the Drupal community is everywhere: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, IRC. There's a lot of places that you can interact with our community. Now I want to zoom in a little bit about the makeup of our market, so why would you? So I told you that I think that Drupal is an interesting market for testing products because it's so well connected. So you have all these publications and stuff, but then what's also really cool about Drupal is that we've got this secret mix of freelancers, smallish companies, large companies like Acquia that have a massive sales force, and so depending on what product you want to do, you could target at these different players in the market and get a lot of traction worldwide in enterprise websites, which is kind of cool. So very few startups can get immediately in touch with the CEO of something, like a really large company. With Drupal, because of this network that we have and all these other companies that are already doing websites for all these other companies, we've got a channel, we've got a communication channel to reach these people. So freelancers, Drupal shops, bigger companies, like I don't need to name them. I'm going to name this one, especially because this open SaaS thing that I was talking about earlier. Acquia has an open SaaS program, and who knows DKAN? D-K-A-N. No? It's a Drupal distribution for open data. In the US, every single government needs to open up their data. It's like by law. Also in Europe, there's European regulation that government data should be open, so that the public can use it for free. But in the US, they're pushing a little bit harder. So all these governments suddenly needed an interface to expose this open data to the public. So New Civic, they started building this distribution. They made a deal with Acquia, and Acquia went and sold it for them, and they sold a lot. It doesn't work for every distribution, but if you have a distribution that's interesting for enterprise, there's a good chance that Acquia would be interested in helping you sell it. For them it's interesting because they can sell the hosting, they have recurring revenue from there, and they have a massive sales force with lots and lots of connections everywhere that can get you across the door. So, recap. Did I change your mind? Did you learn something new? Yeah? Who did learn something new? Okay. Whose mind has changed? Who's now thinking different about our favorite blue alien? So, Drupal is a rich platform. It's richer than you even realize. It's really powerful for prototyping, and prototyping is everything in startup, because if you don't model, you're doing it wrong. It empowers non-technical people, even founders, to build their own prototype. So instead of having to go find a technical co-founder who wants to build everything in code and spend 2 years in the Batcave, they can click it together themselves, maybe with a little bit of help. Drupal can be used for front-end, which is kind of weird. And it's a really, really interesting market to do stuff with. It's a very powerful market because it's so well connected. And we all know it, so it's easy to address. If you want more tips like this, you can follow me on Twitter, Kristof Van Tomme, or you can sign up for this newsletter, which is a newsletter for a productized service that we're starting for helping non-technical people build startups. But I know that you all can build your own sites in Drupal, but there's some interesting forums, and like we've got one forum for building landing pages, for example. I don't know, if you've ever had to build a landing page, it can be really, really painful. We build a forum to make that easier. And if you sign up for this, we'll send you a copy and a few other ones. And that's it, folks.